Hi there, and welcome to Ian's Ngauge channel. I'm Ian. Okay, so welcome to an August edition of In Other News. In this video I'll be covering a cab ride camera project, something spooky going on in my test track sidings, a growing seafoam trees update, I'll be reflecting on some Loco reviews, listing my Locos in need of maintenance, discussing progress on Shelfington, and giving a short update on Shortington TMD. So, let's get started. Okay, so let's kick this edition of In Other News off with some information about a project I've been thinking about for at least the last 12 months. Like many railway modellers, while I enjoy watching my trains go by, I really want to be able to view the railway as though I'm riding in the cab of one of my Locos. I initially thought that this would be simple. I'd just purchase a small action camera, strap it to a wagon, push it along in front of the Loco, and beam the footage from it straight to the computer. However, this is ngauge, and no 4K capable action camera I've come across so far is small enough to do the job. I decided that maybe I didn't need 4K footage and tried an HD body camera, meant to be used for security and personal protection. This seemed like the perfect solution. The camera was slim and light enough to sit on a bolster wagon. It had a lens that could be angled towards the track, and most importantly, it was cheap. Unfortunately, while it worked, it produced some awful footage, so it's been consigned to the rubbish bin. I've since decided to go down the DIY route and have purchased a 4K camera module that's powered by a small LiPo battery. The plan is to create a 3D printed housing in which to install the camera equipment and then mount it to a bolster wagon, although I'm not at all sure how I'm going to make this lot fit. As you can see, the camera itself produces excellent quality images, so hopefully I'll figure it out, and I'll soon be able to ride along during my running sessions. So this is very odd. I have a very spooky situation going on with one of my sidings on the test track. All of the points in the test track siding ladder are Pico medium radius streamline Insulfrog code 80 points. That means the power can only be routed via the switchblades, unless extra dropper wires have been installed to power the track beyond them, which they haven't. I only actually have dropper wires installed in 2 locations on the test track. One set is on the front straight, between the leftmost point and the set track point that heads off towards the upper station level, and the other one is installed to provide an independently powered runaround loop, parallel to the front straight. So none of the sidings should be powered unless the points in the ladder are set towards it. Now here comes the spooky bit. The sidings don't always obey this rule. Here we can see that if I set the point at the beginning of the ladder against the sidings, the Class 44 continues on its merry way. Spooky, eh? If anyone can explain this, then please do, as it's been freaking me out for months. I thought this would be the perfect time to give you an update on my attempt to grow some seafoam trees from seed. The seeds actually took under a week to germinate in the high humidity environment of my fish room. However, once germinated, the high humidity could cause a problem called damping off. This was where a mould or fungus formed on the surface of the compost and attacked the delicate stems and root systems of the seedlings. So, once enough of the seeds had germinated, I removed the cloche and transferred the seed tray to a sunny, south-facing windowsill. This is where I realised that I'd made a mistake. I'd sown the seeds in a seed tray that didn't have any drainage holes, so watering them became a problem. Ideally, I'd have liked to have dunked the bottom of the seed tray into a pool of water, and then let the compost lap it up. I could then regulate how often I repeated this to avoid the compost from becoming bog-like. However, without drainage holes, this was impossible. So instead I had to target water the seedlings. First, I used a syringe to add water to the edges of the seed tray to help stop the dry edges of the compost from cracking. I then used a pipette to apply water directly to the base of the seedlings. This allowed me to avoid overwatering and also avoided the build-up of water in the bottom of the seed tray. I let the compost completely dry out between waterings and used a cocktail stick to check that there wasn't a build-up of water in the bottom of the tray. While this method was a bit time-consuming, it worked well and helped get the seedlings through the June and July heatwaves we experienced. I did have a scare in July when some of the seedlings were killed off. I don't know whether this was because we had a particularly cold night or whether I'd overwatered them, but thankfully most of them recovered. By the end of July, the seedlings had matured into young plants and were large enough to be transferred into larger pots. I potted them on into a mixture of John Innes No. 2 potting compost and perlite. The ratio I used was 5 parts John Innes to 1 part perlite. Instead of individual pots, I actually moved them into 3-inch deep troughs. I thought I'd filmed the process, but appear to have lost the footage unfortunately. It was quite difficult untangling the root systems of individual plants, so in some cases 2 or 3 plants are sharing the same spot. I'm keeping them indoors for the time being, so I can move them out of the heat if I need to. Thankfully, watering has become much easier and a lot faster, as each trough sits in its own tray. If I overwater them, water can drain into the tray through slits in the bottom of the troughs. Because there is much more volume of compost in each trough, it means I only have to water every 2 or 3 days, using a small watering can, rather than daily with the pipette. Hopefully the plants will now go from strength to strength, and will be ready to harvest in the next 3 to 4 months. I'll keep you updated. For those who have followed me for some time, you'll know that I like reviewing locos. I usually review them once I've had a chance to run and observe them for at least 6 months, as I've had plenty of locos that have performed brilliantly initially, but then their performance has fallen off over time. Unfortunately, this year I've not reviewed any locos yet, and I'd like to put that right. I have a long list of possible review subjects, but I'm leaning towards one of the following, which is a subset of that long list. The Graham Farish Class 47, the Graham Farish V2, the Graham Farish Class 64XX, the Rapido Trains Peaks, the Rapido Trains Class 28, the Dapple Class 33, and the Revolution Trains Class 66. So, if you'd like me to review one of these, or have a different loco in mind that you know I possess, then please let me know in the comments section. I currently have quite a few locos awaiting a service, either because they aren't working at all, or are running badly. So I thought I'd go through them in the hope that it'll motivate me to try and fix them. The most recent one is my Rapido Trains Class 28, which has begun to run very erratically, although I have a plan for fixing this, which I'll discuss in a future video. Prior to that, my BR Blue Graham Farish Gronk stopped working completely, although I've begun investigating why, and I'm positive I know what the problem is. Then there's my Graham Farish Class 31, which has an intermittent fault that I fear is to do with a split cog in the bogie gear tower that's affecting its drive. My Sonic Models Large Prairie has a problem holding loads up a curved incline, which I think is related to an overpowerful spring on the front bogie that's lifting the wheels and reducing traction. Talking of traction, my dapple Flying Scotsman couldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding, and isn't even able to haul itself around the track. My dapple Sir Nigel Gresley is currently immobile, because guess what? The stupid drive shaft has popped out. Big shock there then. Then there's my dapple 57XX, which experiences jerkiness as it runs around corners, and has been on my servicing list for quite some time. And finally there's the dapple 14XX, which was kindly gifted to me in the hope I'd get it running again. I haven't forgotten about it, Dave, honest, its time will come. So there's my current list of locos that require attention to make them run properly. Hopefully I'll find some time soon to attempt to fix at least a couple of them. With over half the year already gone, I thought I'd give a quick update on the progress of Shelfington. With the success of my recent foolproof ramp experiment and the completion of the track cleaning experiment, I'm finally in a position where I can remove the test track. Once that's gone, I'll be able to start work on creating the first loop on Shelfington. I'm very hopeful that I'll be able to achieve this quite soon. Maybe even soon enough to claim the free lunch that Ewan, the Growler, has offered if I manage to get a loop of Shelfington installed before the Great Electric Train Show this year. While I've not posted anything about Shortington TMD recently, other than to mention it in passing, work has begun on its construction. I'm hoping to have a video out introducing the layout soon, so watch this space. Okay, let's wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed this latest edition of In Other News, and hope you still like the format. My plan is to make one every 2 or 3 months, if I've got enough content to include. I'd love to know if you think that's about right, or is it too often, or not often enough. Let me know what you think in the comment section. In the meantime, thanks ever so much for watching. Hopefully I'll have another update for you all soon. Bye.